you tell us your full name?
My name is Shawn Ellick.
Can you tell us the tribal nations you're a citizen of?
I'm a member of the Oopa-Pah, Shawnee, Miami, Potawatomi, Winnebago, and Cherokee tribes.
Do you get your Oopa-Pah ancestry from your father's side or your mother's side?
My father's side.
Can you
Well, actually, it's both. Sorry. Both of them, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and repeat that and say,
Okay.
I get my Oopa-Pah
I get my Oopa-Pah ancestry from my mother and father's side.
Can you tell
Both
us your
of them.
parents' names?
My father's name was Bill Ellick, deceased in January of 21. My mother's name was Catherine Lee Hawk, deceased in June of 2003.
Can you tell us what each of them are like?
Oh, it's my mom. She was a nice lady sometimes, but she was nice, and she worked here for the tribe for a while, and just real caring, loving. Really enjoyed her. And then my dad, he worked for the tribe here, and then he also worked for the Senecas for 20 years, and in their housing department, and he finished out his career working in the casino out here at Oopa-Pah Casino. Was a maintenance man and did a lot of remodeling and everything that needed to be constructed. He pretty much took care of all that in them phases when he was out there for almost 10 years, a little over 10 years. So.
What were some of the earliest memories you have growing up?
I remember when the HR building was being built in early 80s, my dad, his Indian Action Team that he was the head of, they built that building that sits here on the property now, and they also built the concession stand that's down near the arena. I've got pictures of him sitting on just the outside wall when it was just stick framed, and he's sitting in the corner of it on top, looking down on his guys that were working and stuff, and just a lot of memories like that, just things that he's done out here. But those were kind of some of the ones that I look at the most and remember the most, seeing stuff like that with him.
Do you remember how old you were when you attended your first powwow?
I was born in January of 75, but my earliest memories running these hills and playing around from time I could walk, but I'd say probably about 8 or 9 was remembering sitting up here on top of the hill and watching them dance, and which I danced a little bit when I was smaller. I was a straight dancer, and did that for a little bit, and then, like I said, just sitting up on the hillside on top of that old little wall that was there, and watching over everything, and all really taking it in, and just watching everybody enjoy themselves.
Can you elaborate more on the straight dancing or arena rules, or just kind of how it made you feel when you danced?
Yeah, I was probably about 4 or 5 when I was that way dancing, so it's not a lot that I remember about it. I just remember being out in it and everything, but just as I got older and watched and been singing around that drum since I was 15 years old, and being out there and just watching it's what I look forward to every 4th of July, is being able to sit out around that drum and sing and see all the dancers and everybody enjoying themselves while they're here when they come into our place and show their skills that they've perfecting in their dance styles and stuff.
Can you speak more it? You must know the songs before you sit at the drum?
A lot.
Anything that you teach 101 drum?
Yeah. Back then, you were asked. Somebody would ask you to come sit and sing. Nowadays, when somebody new comes in, you always go up to that head singer and ask them, "Hey, can I sit in? Can I sit with your drum?" And sometimes they'll tell you, "Yeah, but you sit down on that end because that far end away from you is kind of like." To me, in my mind, it's kind of like the beginning stages for beginners. You're down on that other end, opposite of the head singer. Then the more you start going, you start making your way up till you come. One day you might be that head guy, telling somebody that's only been out a few times, "Yeah, go ahead, sit down there on that end." And that's how I started out. You had to start out down there. And sometimes you ask and they're like, "Nah." It just depends on who it is and where you're at mainly. But for where we're at, it's always, "Yeah, you should go sit down there on that end." And I've also heard them say that you've had to kind of pay your way in, but you don't have to know them songs. You learn them when you sit there. That's what that is. You sit down and that all comes in the process. The more you sit in, the more you're going to learn, and it takes time. I'm still learning. So.
Can you describe the powwow? If you were to describe the powwow to someone who's never been to one, how would you do that? You can paint a picture as far as sights, sounds, feelings.
I'd tell them that they would explain that is, I'd tell them to, when they got here, there's like, kind of explain to them what each little section, starting with grand entry, even the gourd dance, start with gourd dance, just kind of fill them in what that's about. And then explain to them what the grand entry is and explain each kind of dance style to them. And then tell them the difference between intertribal songs and contest songs. Like, I know a lot of powwows nowadays, that's all they are. A lot of them's contests, and kind of getting away from that, just intertribal, getting out, dancing and fellowship. And to me, that, in my eyes, that's how a lot of that has changed, is it's all about money nowadays. In my eyes, it's all about money and that, and the kind of just dancing and feeling good is kind of, the fellowship is kind of gone out of that nowadays, because you have these big powwows. But I tell them to just sit back, enjoy it when those intertribals are on. If they feel like dancing, then go out there and dance and just have a good time, because that's what it's there for. It's here to enlighten people that don't know about this way of lifestyle that we have. And it's kind of, I don't know, they just kind of have to, I'd tell them they'd have to be here and feel it for themselves to see what it's like. But I'd help them out and let them enjoy it. So.
When thinking back, was there a tribal member that you looked up to, and if so, what did you value and respect about them?
Yeah, that would have been my grandma Sil. She was a very, very polite woman. She helped out anytime that she could. Funerals, dinners, whatever it was, she was a big part of it. She cooked in this kitchen here in this building that we're in. She cooked in the longhouse. Back then, in funerals, we usually had the funerals at the family's houses, had the wakes at the houses, and they'd be out there in the yard cooking over an open fire for 3-4 days and taking care of them folks like that. And she was a very huge part in me learning to sing around that drum and just lead stomp dance and stuff like that. She was my go-to.
What do you think about Quapaw culture today? Has it changed, and if so, what ways?
Yeah, I think it has, and I mean, from what I've been around and what I've seen, and I think we're really trying to get back, I shouldn't say get back, I think we're trying to keep our culture to what we have always had, doing things that how we used to, how we used to do them, but at the same time, everything changes as time goes on. The more we get into these new ages, everything, our cultural kind of goes with the flow. And I think that we do try our best to keep our ways the way they were. Don't add nothing to it. Don't take nothing from it. That's our way of looking at it. Our little guys, group of guys that we have and women that we have that are in help cook and do all that, and we try to keep those things the way they were. But as time goes on, everything changes a bit, in my eyes.
Do you know how we could keep our tribal nation alive and moving in the right direction as far as keeping our culture alive?
We have to have more participation from younger kids. Our little ones, got to get them in this stuff. We got to have folks that are willing to bring their kids and themselves to these events and little things that we're having through our other parts of culture, like our pottery and our shawl making and beading and them classes like that. These folks need to come to. I know a lot of folks don't live around here and don't have access to that ability to be here. But I think that's one way to preserve it and keep it going is just reach out to these folks and let them know, hey, we're doing this on such dates. We would like for you to be here. And just like I said, get our young kids into it now. That way, 30, 40 years down the road, we're still going strong and we're still one of the strongest nations around this area. So.
Do you have any expertise in that type of craftsmanship?
I do dice making and beadwork, and I'm no master at it or nothing, but I think it's something that I've done. I learned how to make dice from my great uncle Ed Quapaw, Uncle Chooch. Watched him when I was a kid, sat there and watched him in his backyard and kind of picked it up and made my first set of dice in my teens, and I've been making dice since, off and on, and just started beading in the last 4 years and really enjoy that, doing that kind of work.
Can you walk through the process of making dice?
Yeah, I got me some go out and find rib bones from a cow or whatever. You can find them, make sure. I always look for some that are nice and flat. You can't always find those, so you got to sand them down a little bit, and then use a hoe saw to cut out the pieces, the round pieces, and then kind of hand draw out the little icon. I call them icons. I don't know what they're called actually, but I make those out of that bone too, and cut that bone in half, and then make your designs and kind of file them down, sand them up, get them looking good, and then paint the back sides of them. It can be a long process sometimes, but you just got to have you got to find a way to get the bones. Sometimes you have to boil them bones to get the meat and the bone marrow out of them, and then let them dry, and then maybe have to do it again sometimes. So it could take a little bit just to get the bone ready to even start cutting on and drawing on. So
Do you know of any specific ways that the Oopa-Pah people for growing, harvesting, preserving, or cooking certain foods?
well, I used to, like I said, with my grandma, I used to sit in there with her and watch them ladies cook and eat for these dinners and stuff, and cut meat up for them for pork and corn and beef and gravy and beef and hominy, and just I've watched watched her make fry bread and stuff like that, and I watched my couple of my sisters. I've watched them through the years, and it's just me. I can go home and I can make some grape dumplings. They're pretty good. I will say that for myself. So I learned how to do that from my grandma. That was the most favorite one. So.
Are you familiar with any traditional games, like you had mentioned dice or hand games, Indian football?
Indian football, played it, watched it played the hand games, sung hand game songs. That's something that I've only had a few times of doing, but it's really enjoy that, sitting out there and singing for that and watching them play. It's really, I really enjoy it. But yeah, Indian football, used to play it a lot when I was a kid here and at the Seneca grounds during their green corn, we'd play there. And
can you speak more on some of the rules or the concept of hand games or Indian football or dice? Just kind of like if you were going to explain to somebody how to play them.
I'll start with dice. Dice, you have the 6 round pieces. Then you had two pieces that are different shapes, anything, animals, stars, moons, just anything. So your scoring is if you have, because you have 8 pieces that are painted on the back, and then you have the bone side. So if you have 6 that are red on the back, and then you have 2 bone side up of could be just the animal and a round one, that's 2 points. Or if it's two round ones, that's still 2 points. And then if you have all 7 that are painted up and 1 white one up, that's 5 points. So, and that goes the other way too. If all 7 are bone up and 1 red up, then that's still 5 points. You get what is it? 8 points, I think it is, if I remember right. It's been a while since I played. I think it's if they're all red. I think that's 8, if I remember right. Could be wrong, so don't quote me on that.
We'll make sure it's right before.
Yeah. And then you get 1 animal or whatever your icon is, that's 10. And then if you get both icons, bone side up, all the rest are red or painted, that's an automatic win. So
What about the one when it sticks straight up?
that's an automatic win too if it stands straight up. If you stand one up, doesn't matter if it's a round one or the shape of your animal or icon or whatever, that's an automatic win.
And what kind of, do you typically put it in a bowl or on a pillow?
You use your dice are in a excuse me. Your dice are in a wooden bowl and you set it on a pillow, and it'd be probably best if I had a set so I could show you. But yeah, you use a dice, a pillow, and a bowl to play this game. And that's talking about that bring back another memory of powwow time. My grandma and them camped right over here off the hill, and every night there'd be 10 people around a big wooden table, a lot of people there playing dice and throwing money in a can and by the time showdown come around, it's usually $5 a whack, and it was a lot of good times around that old table over there. The table's still standing there, as a matter of fact. So.
To you, what does O-Gah-Pah mean?
It's to me, it's what they call the downstream people, but to me, the O-Gah-Pah is, we're one big family. Everybody in this nation, we're all here together for the betterment of our culture and our tribe, to see our people live on and survive. It's not just where we come from. It's what we're about. It's a way of life. To me, that's what it means.
Did you want to elaborate on the hand games or Indian football?
Yeah, I'm kind of new to the hand game, so.
That is being partially revitalized, I can
Yes,
that.
yes. But as far as Indian football, to me, it was trying not to get hurt by the girls that wanted that ball to score. You get beat up by them if you ain't careful. So it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Kind of the rules is, girls, they can use their hands and throw it and toss it back to one another and try to throw it through the uprights. And guys, you can only use your feet. And like I said, you get in them scrungs and try to get that ball. It's kind of tough sometimes when you're trying to kick it out and trying to watch for girls' heads down there. You don't want to kick nobody in the face or nothing. But yeah, a lot of good times playing that. Glad to see that they try to do it now still, get kids in it, try to get them into it, and keep it going.
Are you familiar with any storytelling? Were you told any stories growing up?
No, I mean, I wasn't really stories. It was, hey, don't do this, don't do that, and like a lot of it, like my grandma would always tell us not to eat in the dark, because you don't whistle outside in the dark, and just like little things like that, like, because she always told me, you whistle in the dark or you eat out there, you're inviting bad things in, and it's just always lived by that rule. I mean, I just followed it, and still to this day follow it, and I passed it on. It's on down through the line and everything. But as far as stories and stuff, she'd tell stuff, but there's times I probably wasn't paying attention when I should have been. So.
It's a common thing we keep hearing.
Yeah.
We should have been paying better attention.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to elaborate on or speak about, whether culture, powwow, memories?
No.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
All right, you did amazing.
All right, thank you.
Really, really good.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Glad we finally got you in here.